So before I proceed on with this talk, I uh, believe that Deptono, can you please make me as a host? Either I cannot share my screen.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So this is such an important topic that is gaining tremendous importance in the upcoming days, because in the new normal context, in the post-COVID world, I believe that most of you are a research scholar either from social science, particularly in the discipline of political science, or in international relations, maybe in critical anthropology, maybe in gender studies, maybe in gender and development studies, or maybe in human geography, or in public administration, right? So interdisciplinary research is quite interesting. Maybe I know some scholars in the United States. They are he's a civil engineer, did his PhD in physics and a postdoc in climate science. Now he is doing social science research in Bangladesh, particularly in the district of Zasor. His name is Jonathan Gillian. He's a good friend of mine as well. So it's quite important that a physicist should understand how a research can be conducted in social science platform, right? Even those who are studying international relations, they do study traditional and non-traditional discourses of security, human security, right? There are so many discourses around us. I'm not going to define discourse. Instead, I'm going to discuss that how we can apply different discourses to conduct our research projects. As I believe that most of you are either doing PhD projects or master's research or your bachelor monograph, which is quite challenging to conduct, particularly in this pandemic time. Particularly, the research scholar do struggle a lot to fix up the research question. So framing a research question is very important challenge. And then we need to choose a specific method or more than one method to unpack the research question that we are posing. I can share my own experience that to fix up my research question, I had to struggle and survive. I had to struggle for more than 6 months, and then I was able to fix up my research question. Research question is called the skeleton of your research. That means what question you are going to pose or going to ask. There are so many research questions. There are 10 or 8 types of research question, like single arm research question, dual arm research question, arm back research question, kind of complex research question, twistic research question, burdened research question, and there is simple and straightforward research question. So selecting a research question is really challenging. That is another talk called framing research question. So whoever is a researcher, maybe a researcher in international relations or in political science, or even someone in public administration, or even in the study of Bengali, or even in the study of literature, it is quite hard to identify a research question based on the literature that we review. So I believe that the audience here participating are quite critical. Critical in the sense that, for instance, XYZ claims human security is this. Mazi 2021 claims human security is this, which is quite important for doing the literature review. But it's quite important that we position ourselves to evaluate a specific piece of literature that we engage with, right? So each of the scholars attending this talk, they have their scholarly position, which I call as political position or positionality. The positionality is very important to understand how you situate yourself to do your own research. I have been going through some interesting discussion on the Shautal women in Bangladesh and India, particularly in regards to the identity politics and the recognition as indigenous communities in Global South. So being a researcher, it doesn't mean that you have to believe in what your participants are speaking while doing an interview, right? Instead, it is quite important that how you have understood the theories of identity construction and politics, and then apply the theory to develop your own critiques or your own narratives in your empirical findings or your empirical writing. So doing an interdisciplinary research is not only a challenge, but also an intellectual journey. So enjoy your research thinking that it is a journey. So journey by research, journey with research, and journey for research. Then you will enjoy your scholarly work. Either Don't do the research for the sake of research. Don't do the research for the sake of attaining a degree. In becoming or to become an interdisciplinary research scholar or advanced researcher, it is quite important to develop a strong reading habit and critical thinking power, and learning to interact with so many scholars, which I call as established collaborative network. We are living in such an modern era where single authored scholarships are not valued tremendously. Instead, it is the power of collaborative research that will really help you to build up your research profile. That's a very different thing. So before I lengthen my talk, let me introduce you that what we are going to discuss today. As I have said that we are going to discuss about the application of research method or more than research methods in transdisciplinary research or interdisciplinary research, right? So it is quite important that in social science, we understand the principles of engaged research. I feel many of you have heard about this, but I'm going to kind of bringing a different dimensions. Given my background in culture studies, in gender and development studies, in women and gender studies and critical disaster studies here in Australia, excuse me, and also my past background in West African context where I learned about the engaged research. So all of we are kind of engaged with our individuals, with the research community. We are engaged with algorithms, we are engaged with infrastructures, we are engaged with economics, we are engaged with ecology, and we are bringing the concept of sustainable development goals. We are bringing or drawing the critiques of globalizations. We are bringing the dynamics of vaccine diplomacy in the age of COVID-19, right? So all are the kind of part of engaged research. So in discussing the principles of engaged research, I'm a fan of Paul James, a critical engaged research scholars based at Western Sydney Uni. I will discuss 7 different principles of engaged research, and then we'll open the discussions that in what philosophies of engaged research your research is situated in. And then we'll be discussing that how to frame a research question. That is quite key challenging concern, particularly for the young researchers, and then selection of methods. Dear audience, are you clearly understanding what I'm saying? Is it quite okay? Hello all.
Yeah. It is perfectly okay. You can continue.
Is everyone hearing me very clearly? I want the voice from
Yeah.
everyone. Deptunu, I want the voice from everyone that they are hearing me clearly.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Response.
You can please respond because
Yes,
it's an engaged research.
Yes, sir, we can hear.
Yes, sir.
Everyone should respond, or they should drop a kind of statement why in the chat box. Then I will understand that yes, you are clearly listening to what I'm saying. So in this short talk, we are going to cover 3 different things. 1, principles of engaged research. There are 7 different principles, and this talk is based on engaged research ethics and methods coined by Paul James and Liam Maggie. And Maggie is my supervisor who has supervised my PhD research. And then bringing a discourse of culture studies, I'll be trying to unpack the tensions around developing a research question, which I call as framing a research question, and the selection of method. I don't know your research question. You know your research question. So you are the best person to choose which method you're going to apply to achieve your specific research goal. So you see a big diagram. It is not my diagram. I have borrowed this diagram from the Google images. I'm sorry that I haven't acknowledged the sources. I have just borrowed this diagram just an hour ago from the Google Scholar. So you see, as most of the researchers are based in social sciences, in particular focus with international relations and political science and development studies or gender studies, we always play with this kind of concept like dominated, domination, American, qualitative, quantitative, mixed method, race, ethnicity, humanistic, analysis, data, Hispanic, cycle, census, initiatives, identity. It's a big classification, define, neighbor representation. These are the kind of buzzword that we use: impact, outcome, research goal, uh, of course, white supremacy, caste, uh, future, sustainability, um, bureaucracy, mixed method research, Asian, East Asian, South Asian, collaboration, rich and poor, caste and caste system, and of course with the religion. And I believe that as most of the research scholars are situated in political science or international relations, all of we are dealing with the discourse of human security, particularly security. There are traditional securities, there is non-traditional securities, there is environmental securities, there is ecological securities, there is securities with the uh, human existence, right? So there are discourse around social Darwinism. I'm not a scholar in the security discourse. Instead, I'm an advanced learner from all of you. So I feel uh, your reflections and your voice will really help me to understand the discourse that I'm going to make today and the key points that I'm going to raise today. So we are somehow dealing with so many concepts, those are located in this particular diagrams, right? So social science is really, really interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary research that has drawn attention to the global people. And particularly while doing research, it's quite important, the expected outcome and impacts of the research, right? So in Western countries, particularly in Australia, there is different way of measuring the impact and outcomes of the research. And of course, outcome and impact are not the same thing or the same phenomenon in research. Some of you are maybe coming from anthropology background. You might have your undergraduate training or bachelor degree in anthropology. So ethnography is quite key. So we cannot deny or deny the applications of ethnography. It might be autoethnography, it might be engaged ethnography, it might be digital ethnography, it might be an ethnographic research. I'm not a scholar in research methods and methodology. Instead, I do use advanced research methods and methodological approaches to problematize the socio-political and cultural discourse in South Asian region. So now let me explain how do I conceptualize or I understand about the national science, about the interdisciplinary research or transdisciplinary research. For instance, if you're writing a research monograph or your master's thesis of one of the tribal communities or ethnic communities or indigenous communities in Bangladesh and India, you might need to consult with some relevant scholars doing research and writing on indigeneity and constructions of identity. And particularly, it's quite important how we understand this. So being a scholar in IR, you need to have those kind of evaluating power and critical thinking capacity to analyze the scholarships, the ongoing scholarships that has been developed, and also need to think of we also need to think of that how your research is going to fit into the existing scholarly pieces. Research contribution doesn't mean that what new knowledge we are creating. It's a very vague idea used in South Asian context. Instead, a research contribution means how you are adding some new knowledge in your field. And I can see that in the next 10 minutes, this link is gonna die. So I'll be clicking the second link to enter into the talk. So let me define really interdisciplinary research according to the National Science Foundation called NSF based in Washington. It defines interdisciplinary research. I have elaborated its transdisciplinary research is a mode of research, kind of is a category of research by teams or individuals, or maybe an individual that integrates information. That means by information, I mean here literature, studies, journals, articles, book chapters, relevant academic blocks, non-academic blocks, lay reading, literature, data. There is two universal faults in this world. One is the talk of the mouth and another one is the data. So be very technical and critical about the data. Techniques, that means methods and methodology. Tools for collecting data and tools for analyzing your data. Perspectives, concepts, and theories from two or more than one disciplines, two or more disciplines or bodies of specialized knowledge to advance fundamental understanding or to solve problems, solutions beyond the scope of a single discipline or an area of research practice. So you see, there is a vast implications of interdisciplinary research. So dear participants, are you understanding what I'm saying about the application of interdisciplinary research in social sciences? Are you all clearly understanding what I'm saying? আপনারা কি সবাই শুনতে পাচ্ছেন আমার কথা, বুঝতে পারছেন আমি কি বলছি? যেহেতু যেহেতু অংশগ্রহণকারী সবাই বাঙালি, আমি মনে হয় দুই একটি বাংলা কথা বলতে পারি আপনাদের আজকের এই বিশেষ আলোচনা সভায় গবেষণা এবং গবেষণা পদ্ধতি নিয়ে। আমি ইন্টারডিসিপ্লিনারি রিসার্চ নিয়ে যে কথাবার্তাগুলি বলছি আপনারা কি শুদ্ধভাবে পরিষ্কারভাবে বুঝতে পারছেন, শুনতে পাচ্ছেন? Okay, so I think I'm getting some responses, which is quite good. So now I'm opening the floor for 5 minutes discussion. Do we treat interdisciplinary research as engaged research? যদি আপনারা একটু আপনাদের ভয়েস রেইজ করে ওপিনিয়ন দিতেন যে আমরা কি ইন্টারডিসিপ্লিনারি রিসার্চ কে, মানে আমরা যে রিসার্চ গুলা করছি, আপনারা তো রিসার্চ স্কলার সবাই সকলে, তাই না? তো এটি কি আসলে মানে এনগেজড রিসার্চ কিনা? আমরা কোনো না কোনো, হয় কমিউনিটির সঙ্গে হতে পারে, না হয় কোনো বইয়ের সঙ্গে হতে পারে, বা কোনো স্কলারের সঙ্গে আমরা এনগেজড কিনা, যদি আপনারা একটু কথা বলতেন। আমি একটি প্রশ্ন রেইজ করেছি, শুড উই কনসিডার আওয়ার রিসার্চ অ্যাজ এনগেজড রিসার্চ? সবাই যদি একটু কথা বলেন কাইন্ডলি। হ্যালো
Dear students and researchers, why you are not responding?
Please feel free to talk.
This is exclusively for you. This is not expected. You should responsive.
আমরা যে গবেষণাগুলি করছি এটি কি আসলে এনগেজড রিসার্চ বা কানেক্টেড রিসার্চ কিনা? আপনারা কি মনে করেন এটি নিয়ে?
Should I say?
আপনারা মতামত না দিলে আমার পক্ষে লেকচার কিন্তু খুব ডিপলি কন্ডাক্ট করা কঠিন হবে, কারণ এটা খুব ইন্টারঅ্যাক্টিভ লেকচার কিন্তু। হ্যাঁ, এটা ট্র্যাডিশনাল লেকচার না, ইন্টারঅ্যাক্টিভ না হলে কিন্তু রিসার্চ মেথড আমরা কিন্তু বুঝতে পারবো।
হ্যাঁ, নমস্কার স্যার, আমি বলছি সুখদেব দাস।
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, বলুন আপনার মতামত দিন।
হ্যাঁ, অবশ্যই এগুলো ইন্টারকানেক্টেড রিসার্চ বলেই তো মনে হয়, কারণ বেসিক্যালি আমাদের পলিটিক্যাল সায়েন্স সাবজেক্টটাই তো ইন্টারডিসিপ্লিনারি। তো সেই হিসেবে আমরা যা কিছু রিসার্চ করব আমার তো মনে হয় অবশ্যই ইন্টারকানেক্টেড সমস্ত কিছুর সঙ্গে।
কারণ মিস্টার দাস যেটা বললেন যে আমরা পলিটিক্যাল সায়েন্সে সবসময় কিন্তু পাওয়ার নিয়ে কথা বলি না। ন্যাশনাল পাওয়ার হতে পারে, স্টেট পাওয়ার হতে পারে, সেটি ডিপ্লোম্যাটিক পাওয়ার হতে পারে, সেটি হতে পারে সফট পাওয়ার, রাইট? সেটা হতে পারে রিজিওনাল পাওয়ার, রাইট? সেটা হতে পারে সিম্বলিক পাওয়ার। সো পাওয়ার যে শুধু পলিটিক্যাল সায়েন্সের লোকজন স্টাডি করে, ইটস নট লাইক দ্যাট, রাইট? পাওয়ার তো জেন্ডার স্টাডিজের লোকজন স্টাডি করে, পাওয়ার কিন্তু ডেভেলপমেন্ট স্টাডিজের লোকজন পাওয়ার নিয়ে কথা বলে। সোশ্যাল সায়েন্স বলি আমরা, হিউম্যানিটিস বলি, কিংবা কম্পিউটার সায়েন্স বলি, কিংবা হচ্ছে আমরা স্টেম নিয়ে কথা বলি, কিংবা আমরা সলিড রিসার্চ নিয়ে কথা বলি, বা পজিটিভিজম নিয়ে, কেউ কিন্তু পাওয়ার ডিসকোর্সের বাইরে নয়, রাইট? সো মিস্টার দাসের পয়েন্ট থেকে এটা স্পষ্ট যে পলিটিক্যাল সায়েন্স হলে আমরা সকলে মোটামুটি এনগেজ রিসার্চ করছি। আর কোনো পয়েন্ট, নতুন কোনো পয়েন্ট?
If we look at the security studies also, then there also we are continuing this kind of research, and we are engaging with the community. And it is if you look at human security, then we'll find that it is actually what we are trying to do is that we are protecting individuals, as well as we are also emphasizing on the community security, which is an important component of the human security also. So definitely, right. We are engaging with the community, even if we look from the security studies point of view.
রাইট। সো আমরা দেখতে পাচ্ছি পলিটিক্যাল সায়েন্স এবং সিকিউরিটি স্টাডিজ এরা হচ্ছে ভাই বোন, কিন্তু এই দুটি একটি কমিউনিটির অ্যাঙ্গেল থেকে ভীষণ রকমের এনগেজড। আর কেউ কোনো গুরুত্বপূর্ণ পয়েন্ট রেইজ করতে চান? এই প্রশ্নের কোনো ভুল বা সঠিক উত্তর নেই, আপনারা যেটি বলবেন সেটিকে আমি হয়তো এক্সপ্যান্ড করার চেষ্টা করব। ডিয়ার রিসার্চ স্কলার, আর কেউ কোনো পয়েন্ট কি রেইজ করতে চান?
হ্যাঁ স্যার, আমরা যদি পলিসি মেকিং এর ক্ষেত্রে যদি দেখি স্যার, তো সেক্ষেত্রে একটি স্টেটের সাথে আরেকটি টেস্ট মানে অবশ্যই করে ইন্টারকানেক্টেড। কারণ পলিসি মেকিংটা তো আমরা যদি আমরা যদি আমাদের এখানে পুরোপুরি জড়িয়ে আছে যে ফরেন পলিসি, তো মানে ফরেন পলিসি ম্যাটারটা তো অ্যাকচুয়ালি পলিসি মেকিং এর উপর দাঁড়িয়ে আছে। তো যে কোনো দেশের সাথে যে কোনো দেশের সম্পর্ক, মানে সেটা বাইল্যাটারাল হতে পারে, মাল্টিল্যাটারাল হতে পারে, ইভেন ইউনিটারাল যাই বলি না কেন, সরকার তো স্যার পলিসি মেকিং ক্ষেত্রে অবশ্যই করে এটা ইন্টারকানেক্টেড এন্ড এনগেজ রিসার্চ অবশ্যই করে স্যার।
রাইট। সো আমরা যদি ফরেন পলিসির কথা বলি, তখন ফরেন পলিসির ফাউন্ডেশন তো ডিসকোর্স, রাইট? পলিসির যে কোনো পলিসি তৈরি করা কিংবা পলিসি ইমপ্লিমেন্ট করা বা যে কোনো কনভেনশন সাইন করা বা ইমপ্লিমেন্ট করার মেইন জায়গাতে হচ্ছে কানেক্টেডনেস। সেটি হতে পারে ইন্টার স্টেট, সেটি হতে পারে ইন্টার কমিউনিটি, সেটি হতে পারে সার্ক, সেটি হতে পারে ইউ, সেটি হতে পারে এশিয়া প্যাসিফিক, সেটি হতে পারে D8, সেটি হতে পারে G8, রাইট? So somehow we are part of the broader connected research. এটা কি স্পষ্ট? মানে in the last 15 to 20 minutes we have tried to define the interdisciplinary research and application of connected research into our whole discussions, right? So we came to know that according to the National Science Foundation of the United States of America in 2014, in 2004, it defines interdisciplinary research or connected research brings theories and practice of more than one or two disciplines, right?
Definitely.
And provides sustainable solutions to create new knowledge to the existing literature or existing policy discourse.
Actually.
Yep. So I would like to go back to Dr. Nandi, who is a well-established scholar in foreign policy, to give his valuable opinions on connected research. Nandi sir, do you like to add any valuable points with us?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Roy. Actually, to me, connecting research is basically based on interdisciplinary approach. So now social science researchers have been connected with allied disciplines, like being a researcher of political science. I have worked with you, gender studies. We have already written 2 or 3 books, already submitted to Routledge and Pilgrim. And we have also done some research work beyond our core discipline. Suppose we have written a joint article on Rohingya refugee studies. It is basically neither core area of political science nor the core area of gender studies, but with a common perception. I mean, human security perspective or security perspective. Based on these 2 perspectives, we have done this work. Not only that, I have worked with some social work fellow. I have already contributed few chapters which already published from Pilgrim, Routledge, and to be published from Springer. And already I have worked with economists. And because I am not the economist, but what can I do? There are some convergence of research area or theme. Based on which convergence area we can do so many things. And our UGC, our funding agencies, and internationally, this interdisciplinary and connective research work are being encouraged by the funding agencies and the research institutes. Okay, because this is one of the basic reasons behind this to me, because the rapid change of the society, economy, and social structure. So it is very much difficult